Um, my name is Balaji. I'm the moderator for this session on innovative financing mechanisms. A word that we are really carrying forward from the plenary sessions, which probably I started counting from the first 3 speakers. I'd already exceeded a count of about 40. Then I stopped counting the word innovative financing. So it was like a buzzword happening during the plenary session, and it's really great to kick off a discussion on innovative financing here. I'm based in Bangkok, and I work with Deloitte Consulting, and I've been involved in climate finance for a long time. And in this region and across the world now, as renewable energy technologies are becoming more competitive, and there's a need to actually access energy at lower costs. For example, the biggest thing that's happening in this region right now, driving energy demand, not just in this region, but everywhere, are data centers whose operating costs are roughly like 50% of their operating cost is energy. So the search for cheaper energy is not only driving technology, but the financing becomes a big component of that. The innovation in financing is either helping drive down the cost of finance. That's one way, like we're looking at different mechanisms to bring down the cost of finance. Or the innovation is also driving access different parts of money, bringing in different stakeholders to invest in projects and stuff like that. Alluding to the first one, an example that you can probably go and refer is the one which ADB led. It was a 600 megawatt wind project in Laos, which ADB was the lead arranger of the debt. And there were a number of other debt providers. But what ADB did was use a lot of that capital to de-risk. This is a wind project selling wind into the Vietnamese grid. So there's a lot of identified risks, which were all de-risked by this additional capital that came in. So that's like one way of kind of innovating, de-risking projects. The other thing that we also see is access to different types of stakeholders investing in projects, which also brings down the cost of capital, which is happening especially in the data center world. Many of the data center operators, like even Amazon or Google or Microsoft, are directly investing in generation assets. And so that's another thing that's going on. So that gives you access to different parts of money and different stakeholders coming to play. So on that note, today we'll explore, we have 4 very well curated cases and speakers here who are experienced in this. So we'll kind of discover this theme of how we've been looking at cutting down the cost of money by de-risking, or different methods of de-risking, or trying to access different parts of money. So without much ado, I would welcome Mr. Muhammad Ali, who's the regional director from JCM Power, to kick off the presentations. So can we have Mr. Ali's presentation, please? You can feel free to stand up and present if you want. For questions, we'll have a Q&A round at the end. If you, the app also has a placeholder for posting questions. So as people speak, if you have more questions, you can post on that, and we can take them up at the end of the discussions. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Muhammad Ali. I'm the Regional Director for Asia for JCM Power. And I'm here to present to you a very simple yet bold idea of clean energy being affordable in emerging markets. As Balaji already mentioned, all the keynote speakers this morning have been talking about innovative financing. So how do we make clean energy affordable in emerging markets? We gotta innovate. And how did we do it? That's the case I'm here to present. So a little bit about ourselves. JCM Power is a Canadian company headquartered in Toronto, owned by 5 development finance institutions. We focus purely on emerging markets, and making impact with intent. That's how we call it. Some of you might have, I read the story or seen the story on Netflix about the boy who harnessed the wind in Malawi. We are the company that harnessed the sun in the same country. And I know this is an Asia Clean Energy Forum, so I'll try to connect that lessons learned from there into what the model we are replicating in Asia. So these are the markets of focus over here. A little bit about our platform. As I mentioned, 200 megawatts operational, 100 of that is in Malawi, solar. And then the 350 is the case study I'm here to present, that how did we secure that line and how is it affordable clean energy in emerging markets. So today I'll present a case. So we have been successful in multiple bids around the globe. Today, what I'm focusing on is the case study of Pakistan, where in 2024, we delivered the lowest cost of energy at a utility scale project of 3 cents. The formula of clean energy projects is actually very simple. It's nature divided by cost. There's only so much you can do about nature, but we will talk about that as well, how innovation can help there. And then today's topic of this forum is about what to do about that cost to make it achievable. What we were able to do, as you'll see, that we delivered a 3-cent tariff at the bid, which is almost 70% lower than the country's average generation price. The innovation framework revolves around, first of all, as I mentioned, the cost. So it's the financing. Then there is commercial innovation, and then there is technical innovation. So over to financial innovation. The first thing is money. There was, even Balaji referred to it, a lot of the keynote speakers also talked about the cooperation, the words like political will were used. You have to de-risk the project profile to bring the cost of capital down. We were able to engage with the policymakers, with the off-takers, and able to come to the appropriate agreement framework that was able to de-risk the project, coupled with grant funding, guarantees, and some concessional financing that really brought the cost of capital down. Then moving on to commercial innovation. We really ripped out the old plain vanilla agreements that were there in EPC, O&M contracts, insurance agreements, and we sculpted all those payment profiles. This, for some of the financial wizards in the room, will know that the initial cash flows of a project are very sensitive to the returns, to the lenders, and that's where this sculpting really helps. You also have to, keep in mind the ancillary cash flow streams. For example, in some of our projects, we have launched an agri-power business, which you see on the screen, which helps. It's not for the company, but it helps with creating economic activity for the local communities there, which effectively makes the project more viable and more acceptable in the regions that you're trying to set up those clean energy platforms. Then the third element is, the third ingredient of the secret sauce is technical innovation. Plain vanilla, simple solar, simple wind is no more the name of the game, is not really the way to go. This is the nature part of the formula now. You have to look at hybridization, either a wind solar or solar battery, wind battery, or wind solar battery, all three together. You have to look at your hourly. There was in the planetary stage discussion, there was a lot of discussion around curtailment due to transmission infrastructure constraints. You have to look at hourly demand and complement your supply design, whether it's a wind solar hybrid, solar battery hybrid, or any sort of hybrid, to supply as per the hourly rate. This really reduces the curtailment risk, which effectively de-risks the project and supports the economics. All of this put together is a very high-level graph which shows what is the impact of all those things? So, financing aspect, which is the main focus of this session, from our base case, we were able to reduce our tariffs by 10%. With the commercial innovation, another 6.5%. With the technical innovation and commercial innovation, we added another 10%, and overall going to 20% reduction in our base case tariff. Now, this is a model we have been able to achieve in a few of our bids. We think there is, for now focusing more on Asia, there is bids coming up in Bangladesh, there's bids coming up in Sri Lanka, and this is a very replicable model. And we think that we can have clean energy, which can be abundant, bankable, and equitable in these markets. Thank you very much.
Thanks. I've been on the EPC side and I know how much pushback that would have been. It's nice to see those bottles of honey and the secret sauce that he talked about, but that's end game. We'll actually quiz Ali a little later on how much tears he had to shed while peeling the onions while making those sauces. So we'll move to our next speaker very quickly. It's Mr. Tae-hoon Kim. He's a senior manager at K-Water. Now, what's water doing in a renewable energy, clean energy, innovative financing? Let's see what he has done. And that's where I think the innovation comes in. Over to you, Mr. Kim.
Yeah, sorry, I'm shorter than my previous speaker. It's my great honor to be here to presenting the K-Water experience, how we are the bridging the financing gap and enhancing community engagement in the floating solar. Yeah, before we delve into the details, I would like to explain about my company very briefly. The K-Water is a state-owned company under the Ministry of Environment of South Korea. We manage all waterworks and related business, including the renewable energy waterfront city development. This slide shows the K-Water carbon neutrality business portfolio, including their low carbon management in water infrastructure and making eco-friendly carbon sink and development of water-based renewable energy, the floating solar, hydrothermal, and green hydro generation. The floating solar is the most representative business model of K-Water. We started our first project in 2012, and now we are operating 6 floating solar in Korea, and 5 more facilities are under construction and preparation. There are several reasons why we have great interest in floating solar and want to share our business model with our neighbors in Asia. But I will skip this part for the time saving. Please let me know if you have want detailed information after this session. Despite the several distinctive advantages of this business model, we faced several financing challenges when we were in the beginning stage of this project. First of all, the necessary of the early capital injection coupled with the delayed return on investment, discouraging the private financing. In addition, the fiscal policy, fiscal constraint of the central government, especially during the global pandemic era, have further widened the funding gap. Last week, we pay some the local residents when they opt out, they are excluded from the project benefits. So we are trying to figure out this matter by the private financing, crowding for private financing, especially inviting the local stakeholder around our project site as investor or lenders. And to facilitate this process, we always try to give some the preferential treatment to the local stakeholder, such as setting the priority in the cash waterfall and preferential interest rate, and giving some small-scale renewable asset like the small-scale floating top solar floating plant or other things. This page shows what we done in Korea. This is our first project in Hapcheon, and over 1,400 local residents invested $2.4 million to the SPC, and they get the 10% of interest rate as the investment returns. And South Korean government also help us to give the financial support program to local stakeholders. The same, similar to the previous case, the 20 local residents around the project site also granted $1.5 to the SPC, and they get the same 10% investment return annually. This one is our biggest project, Imha floating solar plant. Unlike the previous case, our government staff engaged each financial support program the local stakeholders. So it resulted 3.5% reduction on the local finance investment return. So we make alternative option to create the local community revenues. As you can see, our solar panel looks like the national symbol. One thing is the 무궁화, our national flag, and the other one is the 태극기, our national flag and flowers. So these measures, this endeavor intended to create additional benefit for the local community as a tourist attraction. Don't you think that one is very beautiful? Very nice. What do you want from our project? The importance of the local stakeholder engagement. Without the engagement, the project may be divided, and the project cost will be skyrocketed. So, how we can obtain this important local acceptance? We think the comprehensive and intensive environmental and social impact study on the floating solar buoyancy and other things is very important. So our comprehensive environmental study on the water quality degradation and the number of underwater species like the fish and other things, that makes our local citizens is comfortable. The last week, I have just 5 seconds. The community engagement is very important for the plan for the project viability. My last word is we are always keen to cooperate with our neighbors to share our experience and knowledge for the renewable and the clean transition of all Asian countries. And please let me know if you have some interest to work with us. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. So that was like a a great example of tapping into a different pot of money, bringing in different set of stakeholders to actually finance projects. We move to the next presentation. This is from Mr. Yasser Arafat, who's a senior energy expert at the Prime Minister's Office, Government of Pakistan. Mr. Arafat is actually going to talk about a very, very tough case.
Thank you.
Over.
I think the presentation is different, please.
Not this one, the other one.
Not this one.
While they're fixing the presentation, if there are any questions.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's done. All right.
Thank you, Balaj, for in giving me this opportunity. Yes, in this, this is a case, as you know, and between China and Pakistan, we have started an energy corridor in 2013. And under that, we have agreed to install 17,000 megawatt in Pakistan in next 15 years. And as of now, we have installed almost 9,000 megawatt and added in the grid. And in 9,000 megawatt, we have almost 5,500 coming from coal. And out of these 5,500, we have mostly share is from the imported coal power plants. And these all coal power plants are being sponsored by the Chinese state-owned companies and Chinese state-owned banks and the Chinese state-owned insurance agents. So I'm going to explain here one of the oldest coal power plant and how we can transfer this coal technology towards and transit it towards the early retirement and convert them towards the renewable energy power plants. And in this sequence, I will be explaining the sector background in Pakistan and then the details of the pilot case and then the way forward. And this is a sectoral background. In Pakistan, we have three major physical pillars, how we are managing the electricity sector in Pakistan. One side we have a generation, and generation is the mostly combination of the public-owned power plants and the independent power plants. And mostly the more than 80% electricity is coming from the independent power producers. And then we have a national distribution transmission line company, which is solely owned by the government of Pakistan, which is a federal domain. Then we have multiple distributors, which are also owned by the government of Pakistan. And this is a governance structure. In our country, we have, right now we have a single buyer model. We have multiple producers, including the public owned and the private. And on the other side, we have only one buyer, which is government of Pakistan. It means all the losses, thefts, and other delta, which is not being recovered from consumer, is the responsibility of government of Pakistan. This is the overview of our energy mix. As of now in Pakistan, we have installed capacity of around 45,000 megawatt. And in this, out of 45,000 megawatt, you can see the coal is just 7,260 megawatt, which is around composing 16% of the total energy generation mix. This means that our contribution in the carbon emissions is very, very minor, one of the lowest in the region and almost lowest in the world as well. This is a case, I am explaining a case without mentioning a name of power plant here, but this is a real case. And this is one of the oldest coal power plant in Pakistan, which we have installed it has achieved its financial close in February 2017. And it was commissioned in October 2017. And I think this case has been also quoted across the world. This was the one of the speedily executed power plant across the world. And average time for executing a coal power plant of this size is to usually take 36 months, but it was installed in 22 months by the Chinese state-owned companies in Pakistan. And the total financial close cost was $1.9 billion. And out of that, we have incorporated the debt to equity ratio, which was 75 to 25. And in that, you can see the total loan is accounting for $1.4 billion, which was from ICBC. And as of now, after almost 9 years of operations, $1.8 billion loan already paid back. And the remaining debt is right now is $0.3 billion. And almost after passing this year, actually in our BOT, in our concession agreement, we have signed this agreement for 30 years BOT period. As of now, if we see its operations, as of now, we have paid back almost as of now in April 2025, the total invoice has been generated by the power plant 1.2 billion Pak rupees and recovered 1.1 billion. And if you see the recovery ratio is as of now is to 92%, means 8% is still the contingent liability of Government of Pakistan. And break even, as per this total revenue, you can see if we consider only the tariff, in the tariff combination, we have capacity part and the fuel part. But the capacity part is totally targeting in the break even approach. And in that, if you see only the capacity part of the 43%, and as of now, the 60 billion rupees have been paid back to the power plant. And full break-even is expected by next year, December 2026, and with all debts maybe will be paid off at the same time. And even we are not paying back the 8% of the shortfall, even then this power plant is going to achieve their payback next year, and almost all debt will be paid back by this power plant in next year, December 2026. And then they have almost 20 years remaining period as a concession, and in that they can earn their profits and the other their strategies. Based on approved equity return, which we have guaranteed to them, it is 27%. And the company is supposed to earn $1.8 billion in remaining 20 years of BOT through capacity power price recovery. Even then, we are not paying them 8% of the total cost, but even then they are about to achieve this earnings in next 20 years. These are some snaps which are approved by our regulator. In this, you can see the tariff structures. And in the last point, you can see we have also given them guarantee to pay at the take or pay power purchase agreement. In that, we have guaranteed them to pay back all the capacity payment, which accounts for 85% of their capacity. And the way forward is that the company, as I mentioned, in our tariff structure, debt is front-loaded, means in 10 years the debt will be paid off. Then we have only one partner to negotiate how they can transit towards the green energy. So after 2026, the company will be autonomous and take a decision at its own through their central approach, but the bank will be no more responsible for any negotiation with us. And from January 2027, the company is projected to earn the profit, which is already mentioned, with 27% of return on equity. And the company may consider retirement as informally we have discussed with them. After the retirement of the loan and achieving the break even, they can talk with us for the early retirement of coal and convert them towards the renewable solar power plants through green financing cap. And if because at this point of moment, because the power plant has been divided into 4 units, 660 megawatt. If we informally we have discussed when they are agreed to convert these solar power plants through if there is some green financing available from donors like ADB, World Bank, or some other banks like AIIB, because under the Chinese green financing window, we also have a cushion of $12 billion, which has been already spared by South-South cooperation. In that window, these power plants can get the financing from Chinese banks too. But apart from that, we have another option for them to encourage them through extension of their PPA, because after 20 years, this coal power plant will be handed over to Government of Pakistan with no cost basis. But if we can encourage them through extension of their PPA, for example, next more 10 years, because this company usually wants to be in the power sector business, so that may encourage them. And in conclusion, that I think this is somehow a case because it's very difficult to talk with 2 or multiple parties after the retirement of the loan and the insurance agent. Then the company is willing to cooperate, even despite they can earn this profit with no risk, but they are agreeing to convert this coal power plant on solar, because they have also abundant land is available around the power plant. And in that, I say thank you. And if any question, we can ask, discuss in the later. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's like another innovation happening, trying to repurpose your PPA and then use maybe that as an instrument to phase out. There's another dimension of coal phase out, which we're going to see Azareen presenting. That's coal phase out. The first one was at megawatt level, and the next one will be probably at kilowatt level. So let's welcome Azareen she's an energy research analyst at the World Resources Institute, WRI. Over to you, Azareen.
Okay, thank you, Balaji. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Azareen, as an energy research analyst from WRI Indonesia, and I'm here to share with you our findings related to unlocking financing opportunities for clean heat solutions in the textile supply chain. Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. So before go through our findings, let me introduce about WRI first. So WRI is an independent research organization that is focusing to tackle 7 crucial issues related to sustainability and also climate change, about food, forest, and water. And after that, climate, energy, cities, and also oceans. So WR Indonesia actually has done a lot of projects related to industrial decarbonization, but we started with low to medium temperature sectors, especially textile industry, because of 3 reasons. The first, textile industry is actually have big environmental impact in Indonesia, where 5% of Indonesia emissions is actually coming from textile industry. And the second is this sector have a massive economic modality, where 5% of Indonesia's GDP is actually coming from textile industry, and textile industry is actually employed 3.9 million people in Indonesia. And as the time goes by, within the last 2 up to 3 years, the market of the textile industry has been shifted because the global brands like, I wouldn't mention the apparel brands, but because of the brands has set their climate change target, so they kind of pushing textile suppliers to decarbonize. So after that, they kind of demanding more sustainable and green textile products. And after that, we seeing that textile decarbonization is very important, because if the suppliers couldn't decarbonize, we will face a risk of market loss, where it will be threatening the livelihood of 3.9 million people, the livelihood of 3.9 million people, and also increasing the investment risk for Indonesia. And before recommending what is the appropriate technology for textile industry to decarbonize, we kind of mapping the textile value chain in Indonesia, and we found out that the significant energy use process in textile industry is actually coming from wet processing process and also garment making in tier 2 and tier 1 of textile industry. And we see that those processes is actually using a lot of thermal energy rather than electricity. So we find that textile decarbonization, especially for the heat consumption, is very important. And after breaking down the textile value chain, we also seeing and also done a research to see the appropriate solutions for textile industry, where we find in the near term, for the near term solutions, the textile industry can use heat exchanger and also biomass boiler for decarbonizing their value chain. And also for the medium to long term solutions, they can use electric boiler or electrify their manufacturing sectors. But when we have more discussion with the suppliers, they say that somehow this technology is already available in the market, but it is still inaccessible for them because of they have to pay the high upfront investment cost. So we found that there is a financing gap for textile industry to deploy this kind of technology. And to understand the condition or the issue better, we're trying to have one-on-one stakeholder consultations with the textile suppliers, technology providers, and also with the financial institutions. And when we're discussing with the textile suppliers, we found out that they have a really low profit margin. So they only have a really limited decarbonization budget. whereas making decarbonization initiative is less priority for them. And after that, we also found that every factory has different production characteristics, so it leads into different technology preference and also financing schemes. And after that, we found that because of the limited financial capacity and also because of the because of the technical complexity to implement the technology, we found out that the textile suppliers kind of struggled to decarbonize because of this. And when we compare it to another sectors, such as that is included in the low to medium temperature sectors, such as F&B, pulp and paper, and also several chemicals sectors, they also face similar problems because they couldn't access the existing climate finance product because of limited financial capacity, and the technology cost doesn't meet the required ticket size of the existing climate finance product. But the condition is kind of different with the heavy industries such as iron and steel and also cement, because they require more expensive technology, and somehow the technology cost is meeting the required ticket size of the existing climate finance product. So the existing climate finance product is accessible for several sectors, but not for the low to medium temperature sectors. And after that, we're also having a discussion with the technology providers and also with financial institutions. But from talking with the technology providers, we found out that all of the key technologies for clean heat solutions is already in place, but the technology providers haven't provided any innovative financing solutions. So the buyers or the industry still have to pay a high upfront investment cost. And after that, the technology is still inaccessible because of that. And we're also talking with ESCO, or Energy as a Service Company, and they already have or provide the no capex scheme for the industry, but due to limited financial capacity, not every ESCO in Indonesia have that scheme for the industry. And while the technology provider couldn't provide any innovative financing solutions, the existing commercial products from banks is also not accessible for the industry because it has high interest rate and also has a high ticket size requirement. So it makes the existing financing options for deploying clean heat technology is inaccessible for the suppliers. And after that, we're trying to map and we're trying to search what is the potential financing interventions to help textile suppliers decarbonize. So of course, government will play part in this issue because they can give incentive and also subsidy for the textile suppliers. But we found out that another stakeholders like brands, financial institutions, and also technology providers can also have a significant role to enhance the industrial decarbonization process in the textile industry, where the brands can actually giving supply chain financing, give like preferential order to the suppliers, and also giving additional buying price. While the technology providers, of course, if they provide the no capex scheme, it will be very helpful to the suppliers. And they maybe, if the no capex scheme is not accessible for them, they can starting from giving like installment method, subscription, also rental method to the industry. And the last is from the financial institutions, where financial institutions can contribute significantly to accelerate the decarbonization process of textile industry. Because if they collaborate with guarantor, for example, if they collaborate with development banks and also international organization or international development partners, they can act as a guarantor to make the cost of fund of this project is more lower. And if they building a financial consortium between the development banks and also commercial banks, or between the commercial banks, they can de-risk the green financing transaction due to sharing the risk with other banks, either with the local banks or with the commercial banks. So we find out that these potential financing interventions can be happen if all of these stakeholders want to contribute more to decarbonize textile industry. I think that's all from me. Very keen to have discussion with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's a totally different dimension, from how do we kind of find solutions to these, deploying these smaller interventions. So let's quickly go to a round of questions. So what was biting me also came from the audience. There's a question especially for Mr. Kim at K-Water. This says that, how did you engage these communities? How easy, how difficult was it? How did you manage to convince them to be part of the project? What was your experience in that? Because they seem to be a key component of your projects.
Yeah, so sorry. I do not want to make this noise, but oh, are you there? I just asking to the ghost in the mic. Yeah, community engagement is very important one, and these days there are many project developers, including the K-Water. Yeah, we are facing the serious challenge or increasing request of financial compensation from the community side. So, if we reflect all their demand in the project cost without any contribution or any participation from the local communities, our project, our large of the infrastructure development project will be divided. So that's the reason why we are focusing on the private sector engagement, especially local citizen engagement as a lender and investor on the renewable energy project. With their participation in the financing structure, we just do not fill the financing gap, but also improve the local stakeholders the acceptance to the project. So the very, how can I say, the strengthened and improved return on investment. So that's the key point to make the local citizens comfortable. And as I explained, we provide some more the community asset, like the small scale renewable energy plants, like top solar or rooftop renewable floating solar facilities, or as I explained during the presentation, we designed our solar panel very beautifully to generate and attract tourists to our project site. And with so this our Apple, yeah, the local citizen is becoming more happy, and we provide more the support program to the local stakeholders, like the capacity building for the local citizens to make or to transfer them into one of the very skilled pool operator to provide a nice job with good salary as an operator.
So, what kind of information were you sharing? Because obviously, the local community is not very well educated, or they may not know much about the awareness. I'm not saying educate, the awareness about renewable energy and its benefits and its operations. And here they are putting in their money. So, what kind of information were you sharing with them to convince them to, like, it's financial, right? They're putting in their money, they're taking loan and putting it in. So what kind of information did you actually share with them to convince them?
Yeah, our company analysts, we are committed to the local stakeholders. We will pay back to the local community 10% of the interest rate for their capital injection. And as I explained during the presentation, the South Korean government always financially support to the local stakeholders to make their seed money with very preferential rate, almost 2.5%. So with the local stakeholders get at least 7.5% interest, their return on investment without any risk of that, risk of equity loss and other things. And that's the main reason. And the project tenure of our floating solar almost 20 years. It means local stakeholders easily get and secure and it's 7.5% interest rate for the long term.
That's a great one. I'll again, there's a question from the audience, which basically is directed to Azareen. And this is obviously talking about one of the stakeholders in providing this solution, which are ESCO companies. So you mentioned that ESCOs could be potential investors in electric heating or, or electric boilers. So what has been the engagement and how involved are they in providing solutions?
Yeah, okay, so thank you for the questions. Right now, WR Indonesia have been discussing with a lot of ESCO and also technology providers. But unfortunately, in Indonesia, the technology specialty of the ESCO is still limited. So right now, the ESCO only provides several technology, such as energy efficiency technology, renewable energy, especially for solar panel, and haven't touched upon the electrification or electrified technology. And it is because they have a quite limited financial capacity. So the technology specialty of ESCO in Indonesia is not really growing within the last 2 and 3 years, where they only stuck in the energy efficiency technologies. And if I read all the questions, the person also asked about the role of the utility company regarding to decarbonization for the industry. So right now, if I'm not mistaken, our national utility company is still focusing to enhance the electricity access to all over the Indonesia, because we are a big country and have a lot of islands. So the energy access is still one of the important issues that has to be solved in Indonesia. But when we are also discussing with the technology providers and also with the suppliers, of course, the utility company can have a significant role, because one of the textile suppliers that we've discussed, that has been discussing with us, kind of having like a special price for the utility company, because they're doing energy efficiency and also doing several decarbonization initiatives. So I think if because in our context, our utility company is still focusing on energy access, but starting to giving preferential price and also maybe discounted price for companies that doing the energy efficiency initiative appropriately, it will be helping so much for the industry, especially for the one that focusing to electrify their manufacturing process.
That's great. Yeah. So there's yet another audience question. This is for Yasser. So of course, you have to navigate through a complex set of stakeholders in this bargain. There's the owner of the plant, probably there's an O&M supplier and all of that. So what's been the discussions and how has that been and what's been your experience so far? The benefits are well noted, but yeah, you're navigating some choppy waters.
Yes, exactly. As I tried to mention during presentation, actually, as of now, we have 3 to 4 stakeholders as this moment, because we have the sponsor company, which is also state-owned. Then we have Chinese bank, which is a major lender. It's also state-owned bank. Then we have an insurance agent, which is covering the loan part. And this is also state-owned. And the state-owned, in the structure in China, state-owned companies' decisions usually be taken by the highest forum, which is the State Council of China, which is usually led by the Premier of China. So it's very difficult to talk as an individual basis for any power plant at the highest level of the government. So the easiest way, which we have drafted with the help of informally with the help of Chinese and other research think tanks from China. So first we need to decrease the number of stakeholders. For that we may need to wait. Similarly, that's why we took up the case, which is the oldest one in Pakistan, and their debt is going to take off maybe December 2026, and the insurance agent will also be out, the bank will also be out. And in the whole setup for any big project, the banks and the insurance agents are the most risk averse to take any risk. So these two stakeholders will be out, then there will be only company, and company will also be achieving the break even the same time. So the risks, all the risks somehow be out, but these companies are there for earning their profits. So definitely we give them some extra advantages and incentives to come up for this transition. For that, we have developed a negotiation structure. For that, we can extend their PPA. We can give them fixed ROE again. Previously, we gave them 27%, but we can discuss on that, how it can be increased or decreased. But apart from that, we are a developing country. We don't have any foreign exchange abundance reserves. We're also hand to mouth on foreign exchange. For that, we have some promises from international donors, from World Bank, AIB again, Chinese owned bank. So we have some windows from them, and we can trigger and divert these, even the ADB as well, the green financing for these power plants to start at least from the 1 unit, and 1 unit is 330 megawatt, and its cost, if you convert its cost of the ROE part, it's maybe around 150 or $60 million, and that can be as a pilot project, and that is somehow is going to be mature after December 2026, as the informally we have been discussed with the company, and company is willing if there is some sponsor from green finance is available. And this will be, I think, the first of the successful case. I think, as I know, as there were some cases in Philippines which was discussing these type of transition, but I think in Pakistan this will be the first case after this execution. Thank you.
So yeah, staying with you, and this is a follow-on question from the audience. It says that in the ROE calculations for future phase out, are you considering carbon credit benefits?
Yes, this will be also the part of the package, because this will also give the benefit to the company as well and to the sponsoring agent as well. Yes, of course.
Yeah, thank you, whoever asked that question. Thank you very much for that. I think I want to come to Ali now. He also has dealt with some real, I mean, the people sitting on the other side in his case are really seasoned people in the game of negotiation. So how did you manage to bring down, or not just bring down, but have them accept these totally unconventional terms, commercial terms, and what was that experience like? Must have been a tough one.
Thank you very much. So really, to first summarize in one sentence, it's like they say, you build it and they'll come. Once you're the successful bidder in the project, especially now with markets moving towards competitive bidding, and it's no more feed-in tariffs, upfront tariffs, where there are multiple developers just building things, a lot of opportunities. The competitive bid with the singular winner moving forward also gives you a bit, empowers you to actually dictate some of the terms, which in the past, the developers were not the makers of the terms, they were takers of the terms, because everyone, usually the OEMs, the EPC coordinate, contractors, they'll almost give, it was almost like a cartel where they give the same price to all the developers because they didn't want to disrupt the market by giving anything unique to anyone. So in our case, once we were successful, we found that even people, O&M contractors, OEMs, who hadn't even decided to, they thought the timelines were too tight, or for whatever reason, they were not interested in the market, they didn't really give us a proposal. The moment the bid results were announced, we were getting calls, emails that they would like to meet us and they'd like to participate. And there's always someone who would like to, and for one reason or the other, participate with you, whether it's about entering that market that they are not existingly there, or they're already in the market and they have economies on scale on their side. So a lot of these factors kind of play in, but our experience has been that if you're successful and you're the one who's building the project, people will come in and they will kind of participate with you, but they're realizing that that's the new nature of the game and everyone has to kind of sharpen their pencils, tighten their belts.
Oops. Yeah, there's still some more questions for you, Ali. So people want to understand, the audience wants to understand how the agriculture-related activities, whether that had any bearing on the returns, and how did the community really benefit from this?
Thank you very much. So really, as I mentioned, that these, as part of the project, there's always some sort of CSR expense involved with the projects as well. And if you can make them almost self-sustainable, train the communities in some kind of a skill trade that doesn't have an impact on the project cash flows, and whether that project stays there or not, or you're the owner of the project or not, who believes in the overall ethos of taking care of local communities or not, the local communities end up being empowered and almost independent. So that to some extent, I won't say it's the major lever there, but it does impact on relieving some of the project cash flows that are coming from the electrons to go towards the business, and then the local communities and the overall CSR initiatives kind of almost become self-reliant.
Yeah, it's another kind of insurance to ensure that the operations are smooth. So there, people actually also want to understand a little bit better about the blending structure of the capital stack. You can share whatever you can.
So now that's asking for the secret sauce. As I mentioned, we are participating in more bids in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. I know some of my fellow developers are here. And maybe very high level, so I see the question about the fund. So clarifying, we are an IPP. It's not really a fund. So one shoe doesn't fit all, depending on the market, the type of project, the nascentness of the opportunity. For example, I mentioned Malawi. Over there, our project, there was a huge amount of grant involved, where the project, even at that level of renewable penetration in the grid, required battery storage. And we were able to raise about $6 million in grant that to just set up the battery storage facility, which had no impact on the tariff. Because we got it over grant, it was just free support that provided to the grid, enabling the solar facility connected to a very otherwise, penetrable grid exposed to intermittency, fluctuations. Sorry, I'm just looking at the question. And then, so there is grants. Then there is concessional financing, blending in, where, again, if it's, for example, hybrid. The project we are doing in Pakistan is the first hybrid. It's the largest renewable energy project in the country. These factors, there is always somewhere in there, whether you talk about Green Climate Fund or, ADB has some of these concessional financings. So these, you have to identify the unique nature of the project. What is the additionality? What is the impact the project is creating? And there is enough financing out there available to structure it to enable such type of competitive tariffs.
Thank you, Ali. So there are some more audience questions, but I just wanted to talk to Mr. Kim. He alluded in his presentation that the model that he has is perfectly, he's looking at more opportunities to replicate this in other countries. Mr. Kim, how scalable do you think would this be? And what have been your experiences so far in scaling this community engagement model up?
Yes, I can definitely say, I probably believe our business model, can duplicate and share, can be applied to the other neighboring countries. As you know, South Korea is a very, how can I say, wonderful place to examine endurance and the endurance of floating solar facilities, including the buoyancy and the solar panel, because we have very distinctive 4 seasons, including hot summer and very cold winter. And there are always, in every year, we encountered unfriendly plant typhoons several times. So when we developed our business model and possibility, we always reflected that into our model. And these days, the importance of social and environmental impact study is very important. And the Korean citizen is very sensitive and always worry about and concerned about any possible risk or damage to the water bodies, including the water quality degradation, other things, especially the microplastic coal from the buoyancy and other things. So we always we always reflect this important issue in our project modeling and the project planning, and we have very extensive the environmental studies. So that makes the local citizens very healthy, and all countries in the world, we are facing the fiscal constraint problems. They are caused by the governmental expenditure increasing to overcome the COVID-19 errors. So the private to invite the private sector and especially local community as the financier or the lender to the floating solar project or renewable energy project is one of the most viable option with the increasing or heightened improved the community satisfaction. So I firmly believe we can duplicate this model with the other countries in the world.
So one more audience question for you, which came up was, in the process, was there any impact on livelihoods, like people who are fishing or kind of doing something with the lake, and how was that managed?
As I know, I've never heard about the negative impact on the water, the underwater species or fishes or bird around our project site. And as I explained before, the South Korean government and the South Korean citizens very sensitive. All kind of the environmental impact or risk to the underwater species or biodiversity. So that's the reason why I can strongly recommend our business model or project model reflect all environmental issues and eco-friendly the power plant.
And one last question from the audience was on insurance. What kind of insurance coverage do you have? Do you have it against natural disasters or other things? I think those must be standard operational insurance.
I really surprised when I saw this question, because we had very unhappy wildfire issues starting in the eastern part of South Korea these days. And one of our project site is damaged and get damaged by the wildfire. So now I'm extensively contacting with the insurance companies. Everyone working in this project in this field does not want to face the post-merger issues, including the wildfire and other earthquake. But the accession to the full coverage insurance is one of the best options to taking into account the huge amount of money for the late recover plant. And in addition, the K-Water in our Korea is one of the best countries reading the AI, artificial intelligence, and the IoT technologies. So we always installed much of the real-time detection and the forecasting system to forecast the upcoming weather event and any happenings or bad event to make some harm or damage to our facilities.
So that's a great example of risk coverage, again, ensuring returns, and that makes probably the community more confident in investing in it. Yeah. So there's the next question is not exactly related to the financing side, but I think it's a good piece of information that people are looking to. Here, I think, Mr. Rafa, this is for probably you. The high price of grid power in Pakistan is forcing many people to shift to even off-grid solar, and also that the power mix is changing quite fast. So what are your views on that? I mean, you're part of that whole planning process.
Yes, in terms of the net metering and rooftop, yes, we have announced very good lucrative policy, because and on in the outcome of that policy in last 4 or 5 years, we have installed in a B2B and the residential and a small, medium and enterprises 10 gigawatt solar rooftops, including the residential and the small and medium enterprises as well. But as of now we are facing a challenge, because now in the grid, our grid is outdated. We have 3 major lines of grids in Pakistan from south to north. One is HVDC and 2 are HVAC lines. And HVDC line is again constructed by Chinese and it's on BOT model. Apart from that, yes, our 2 other grids are somehow very old, and we are again discussing with Chinese authorities to how to improve the efficiency on the basis of macro grid and micro grid. But on the other side, yes, we have very instability in demand, especially seasonal effect in summer and winter. In winter, our usually demand goes 1/3 of the total capacity. On the other side, we have allowed the rooftops. So some people can say this is an amazing achievement. We have installed 10 gigawatt solar rooftops across the country, and I think this is one of the biggest number in the world, somehow at the top listed. But on the other side, yes, in our grid, we have issues now which have high risk of blackouts in the winter season, because rooftops can give more supply in the system, but on the other side, there is demand less. For that, yes, we are discussing with some technology companies how we can settle this. On another side, as a medium term and long term, we are focusing on 2 big projects, which is battery storage system. But in battery storage system, again, we are a developing country. We don't have the unlimited reserves for importing more heavy and expensive equipments to cover the grid issue through battery storage. And another issue in battery storage, the fire and the safety issues as well. So, but latestly in China, there was one project done as a pump hydro storage project, which is also a you may replace the battery storage system through this project. And in Pakistan, we have abundance of hydro water supply in our northern part. So we are doing a pilot study. In that study, we are analyzing how the pump hydro storage project can be installed, because we have 2 benefits in that. Number one, we have no issue of safety, and second, we don't need to be any big maintenance in the operational phases, and its durability will also be more than 45 or 50 years. So in that project, these solar systems will be installed near that hydro pump storage, and those will be uplifting the water in a daytime to back in the reservoir, and in the night time the reservoir will release that water, and it will be like a base load power plant and 24/7. So these type of things we are considering. Number one, we are focusing on technology intervention to stabilize the grid, and second, in the long term and medium term, we are focusing on the sustainable solution, which we can help in other ways as well, which is the battery storage systems and the pump hydro storage project. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a little out of topic, but maybe in the context of your coal phase out, this whole power mix, etc., must be playing a big role on it. And then staying on the topic of scalability, I'm sure the example of Pakistan coal phase out is applicable throughout this region or with other projects. I think there's a lot of, yesterday there was a session, and tomorrow there's also another session specifically focused on this topic. So I think that already answers the huge scalability potential for this intervention. But I would move to Azareen. I mean, you have focused on textile. So what do you think on the approach that you have now kind of identified the scalability of that as applicable across geographies or across other industry verticals? What are your views on that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before in my presentation, the solutions for the textile decarbonization is also relevant or can be applicable for another low to medium temperature sectors such as pulp and paper and also F&B because they have similar temperature range in the manufacturing processes, and it makes the technology or the solutions is also similar for another sectors in the low to medium temperature sectors. So I think despite of it's not about the geographical, but if the sector is in the low to medium temperature sectors, of course, the solutions will be similar to the one that we research in the textile industry. And when I saw the differences between the heavy industry, of course, they have like, they need a bigger capacity for their production. They need a bigger pressure and also the higher temperature. So the technology or the solutions is kind of different for the low to medium temperature sectors. So the existing climate finance product right now is accessible for the heavy industry, but it's not accessible for the low to medium temperature sectors because the technology that is needed by the textile, F&B, and also pulp and paper industry is not as expensive as the one that needed by the iron and steel and also cement. So I think innovative financing options will be really relevant for the low to medium temperature sectors. And because of 56% of industry in Indonesia is actually under the low to medium temperature sectors, it will give like a huge demand for the banks to, if they providing the innovative financing options. So I think the geographical, it doesn't matter for this case, as long as the sector is the same in the same temperature for the manufacturing processes. So the solutions is kind of relevant or similar. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Ali, this is again the scalability question. You actually talked about looking at bidding in other countries in the region. So obviously some of the parameters, the financing instruments which are available may differ from country to country. So how are you kind of addressing your scaling up in these countries?
So I think, again, for clean energy, so far we have gone from Africa to Asia, and we have not had a situation, unless there was a bankability concern with the contract agreements. For example, I mentioned Bangladesh recently. Bangladesh did announce some tenders earlier this year, and there were no participants because the underlying contractual framework was not considered bankable by the developers or by the financiers. And now the government is revisiting that, and we are expecting a revised RFP coming out. So from that perspective, now with the overall fight against the climate change, there is enough capital available to participate in renewable energy projects, clean energy projects around the globe, especially for emerging markets, because I think the global north does recognize that the global south needs to continue to be a partner, and the changes have to be made and there was a reference in the keynote speakers as well, that some of these emerging market regions are actually very resource rich. So it goes back to the clean energy, formula I was talking about. It is the nature and the cost. So when the nature is concerned, some of these jurisdictions are actually very blessed with abundant solar wind resource, which makes the projects quite viable.
And then somebody's asked a question saying, is this tariff that which you got, the 3 cents, how does it compare with the coal tariffs? Is that parity?
So we are this project is the cheapest project in the country in this history, including compared to the thermal projects. And I would welcome Yasser's comments on it as well. The thermal projects, as you saw in the presentation as well, have a 2-component tariff, while these clean renewable energy projects have a singular tariff. So there's a capacity payment element, and then there is a EPP, energy payment element, that if they produce an electron, that's what they get paid for. So based on our analysis, 3 cents, which is 8.9 rupees, is lower than significant majority of even the EPP. So the government is better off paying the capacity payment to the thermal projects, but not run them and actually offtake electrons from this project. Having said that, this is actually not part of the decision making, because the clean energy projects, as per the grid codes in majority of the countries, especially in this case in Pakistan, are must run. So the offtake is prioritized from these intermittent resource projects first, and then the thermal projects are being run.
Yes, sir, you want to add something on this?
Yes, exactly as highlighted. Actually, yes, in thermal and in other all fuel-based power plants, including LNG, furnace oil, and this coal, yes, we have 2 parts, the fuel price. But in the case of, yes, solar, yes, we have just the issue of base load and intermittency. Other than that, yes, solar tariff is the lowest. And apart from that, yes, he has highlighted correctly. Our Prime Minister is also very, very keen on how to expand this solarization in the country, because the major reason is the tariff, because in the energy basket, our cost of electricity is very high in the region. And we are focusing how to, as soon as possible, to shift towards this solarization. And we have already signed a project with Saudi government as well to installing a 600 megawatt solar project in Pakistan as well. I think he mentioned correctly. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a couple of other probing questions for JCM. One was, which is very important. All the developers usually have, the situation becomes tight with development capital, early stage, at-risk capital. So how did you manage that?
So it's an excellent question, and the answer is not so simple, because there's a lot that goes around. So maybe just from our lessons learned, what the pipeline of projects that we have operational at the moment, it's not that we had 100% success. We were in a lot of challenging markets in Latin America, in Africa, where we did deploy a lot of capital, which the projects never materialized. So what we have now, internally kind of reassess our strategy is about avoiding that valley of death, where you are part committed, you continue to go develop the project, but you kind of can see that this project is not really going anywhere. It's just, spinning wheels. So one is, when you go for this high risk development capital to the institutions, they will look at your track record. They will see who are they giving the money for. It's the track record, the purpose, the probability of that project happening. A lot of these factors play into the application. In fact, not so long ago, I was at another conference hosted by ADB, which was more focused about how to tap into or putting in an application with ADB. The whole conference was about educating people of how to do business with ADB. That is, now there are organizations out there, financial advisors who have mastered the art of how to put that application together. But one is just the presentation element, but it has to have the underlying supporting evidence to it, which is track record, the purpose. For example, in a mature market, let's say we've been talking a lot about Pakistan here. If you were to put a met mast in a, for a new project to get some resource data of that land, you'll have to dish out your own capital. There's probably not going to be any technical assistance facility for that, development expense. However, if you go to another region where the wind has not been assessed, and this is probably the first wind farm that is potentially going to come out, there is a lot of technical assistance facilities available to set up that resource assessment, whether it's engaging the consultants or putting up the met mass. So those are the kind of elements that go into enabling the concessional financing or high risk development capital that could facilitate the developers taking the projects forward.
Thank you. And there's one last question for you, which was on, you're a developer, so you build, operate, and at some point you might be transferring. So, how easy or difficult it is, especially, from other stakeholders, like the lenders, etc.
Yes. So usually there's two type of lock-in periods that can come in, and I don't know if I'll be shooting myself in the foot considering I'm in a lender's building right now. But really, one is usually from your off-taker. There's a lock-in period, and then the other one comes from the lender. In the end, if you look at the underlying reason of why the lock-in period exists, is really there to manage risk. The off-taker has seen the counterparty, which is the developer, and they have given a contract, LOI, PPA, whatever that might be, to that organization, provided their financial strength, the technical capabilities. And so has the lender. So depending on what stage you're trying to exit the project or transfer ownership, both parties will look at who is the other counterparty stepping in. In our experience, and we have done this in these markets where we have exchanged hands ownerships of our assets during those lock-in periods, and we haven't had challenges as long as the other party also qualifies technically, financially, whether it's the off-taker metric criterias or the lender criterias. The consents are forthcoming, because at least so far we haven't seen any agreement in our experience which has it just take it or leave it. There's always, yes, there's a lock-in, but then there's always a clause that should you need to change it, you will require special consent. And those consents are forthcoming as long as the project has been de-risked. Pre-COD, during construction, pre-financial close, less so. But the moment you have, especially, I saw the question was most about post-COD. Post-COD, now the off-taker knows that the electrons are coming into the grid. That's why they had contracted the project out, because they wanted clean energy, power coming in. Similarly, lender has taken comfort that, look, the project is now fully constructed. It's earning money. They will be able to service their debt. As long as these covenants are met, the transfer of ownership, yes, there's a process around it, but I would not say it's impossible.
Thank you. This is one question for Mr. Kim. People are quite interested in, the audience wants to know how the money of the community is managed. How does it come into the project? And then how do you distribute the interest at who manages it? Does the project manage it, or there is a custodian?
Yeah, when it comes to the money management of local financing, usually the local community established each own the special purpose, that company, or more like the corporation. They are dedicated to invest their money to the specific project, and they invest and lend their money to the special purpose company of project developing. So, and as I explained, the government, South Korean government, and our company always trying to help them to secure the seed money for the investment at a low cost. So that's the basic principle of to managing and getting the financing and securing the finance from the local stakeholder investment.
All right, thank you. I think there's just 30 seconds, Azarine, for you to kind of quickly say whether you've seen green financing for supply chains happening from banks.
Yeah, so actually the green financing and supply chain financing is a different products from commercial banks. As far as I know, in Indonesia right now, the green financing is only eligible for a green project, especially for the renewable energy, like a bigger scale renewable energy project, like solar panel and also hydropower power plant and so on. So for the green financing is not accessible for a smaller scale of the project, whereas the supply chain financing is not only limited for the green projects or decarbonization related projects, because they can serve as a working capital that can be delivered to a smaller suppliers in the value chain of manufacturing industry. And right now in Indonesia, I think there are several of multinational banks that already give supply chain financings to help smaller scale suppliers to decarbonize. And I think streamlining those kind of products like supply chain financing for decarbonization projects and also for smaller scale suppliers of manufacturing industry is it can be one of the key solutions for accelerating industrial decarbonization, especially for the low to medium temperature sectors. So I think in the future, in the next project from Double Indonesia side, we will have a lot of discussion with financial institutions to make sure that supply chain financing is accessible, and also it can helps for decarbonizing manufacturing industry, while also having the M&V process as strict as the green financing products. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've covered all the questions from the audience. That's great. We want to quickly sum up, and I would have each of the panelists kind of give a punchline on what innovative financing mechanism means to them. Starting with maybe Ali.
So I think this I would use it as my marketing pitch for JCM Power. I would love to connect with the policymakers, the financiers, the fellow developers in the audience to reimagine the future over here of what was once thought as unaffordable, I think is now unstoppable. And let's try to make affordability and sustainability synonymous. Thank you.
Over to you.
Yeah, the world is rapidly changing due to the climate change and political uncertainty these days. The bankability of a renewable energy project is also affected by those kind of uncertainty. So the securing the local stakeholder engagement and support in the renewable energy project development and the mobilizing finance must be one of the key factors for the successful renewable energy deployment. And I really want to be with you in some place. Thank you.
In my opinion, I think the development funds usually been given since last couple of so many decades by these international donors, and nowadays we just need to categorize these same development funds for green funding. Means the same process will be continued, but these all funds should be allocated through the guidelines of the Paris Agreement. I think this is my final line, and this is somehow the innovative financing, the same financing through through a green channel. It seems like very effective and sustainable way. Thank you.
From my side, financing is one of the most important factors to accelerate industrial decarbonization, and we have to acknowledge that decarbonization initiative is not only a larger scale of project, it's not only about renewable energy, but also the smaller scale project in factory level or sectoral level is also important to help us achieve the climate target. So I think streamlining and also developing a lot of innovative financing options for the sectoral and also factory level is really necessary to help us achieve our climate target. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much to the audience and the panelists. I think through these discussions, we could actually bring out several aspects of de-risking to reduce the cost of capital. That was on the one, and one set of innovative interventions, and on the other one was trying to access a totally different set of investors engaged in the project, which also doubly helps in de-risking like the community engagement aspects that we saw in both the JCM project and the K-Water project. Thanks to the audience for an active participation. We had 15 questions, but I think each question was pretty loaded. Some of them were like 3 questions in one wrapped in together. Thank you very much for your active participation, and we are all here to network. Enjoy the rest of ASEF. Thank you all.